Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you all to today's event. We are very honored to be hosting Dr. Bağcı today, and I'm particularly happy because he was my professor when I was an undergrad at Middle East Technical University. And I have another professor in the room, Dr. Dağcı, İhsan Dağı, so I have to perform well. And Dr. Bağcı, he's the head of the International Relations Department at the Middle East Institute, and he's been the president since 2011. And he has published several books and a large number of articles on Turkish foreign policy and Turkish-German relations. And he's also the deputy director at the Foreign Policy Institute in Ankara. And without further ado, I would like to welcome him, and please join me in welcoming Dr. Bağcı.
Çok teşekkürler. Çok teşekkür ederim. So, good afternoon, good morning. I don't know what to say, but welcome all. Thank you, Gönül, for your kind words. It's always a challenge for the students to speak in front of their professors, but also for professors to speak in front of their students who became something. So I have to be also very careful in every sentence. But what is more important is today, in the next couple of minutes, I will share some views, how I do read the Turkish foreign and security policy, how I do see the world, that the world is reading Turkey, and also how Turkey is transforming, how Turkey is changing to good side or to good or bad side. So there are a lot of difficulties. Some people say Turkey is a global player. Some people say Turkey is the first Islamist, or not Islamist, Islam power, like Soner Çağatay's book is going to be published. I would actually try to tell you, looking from Ankara, living in the field, if you want, where the Turkish foreign policy is made, that Turkey is indeed not anymore the same Turkey as many people thought before. So Turkey is changing, Turkey is transforming, like the world, like Europe. This wonderful German word, Zeitgeist, the spirit of time, is the most important thing. In order to understand the spirit of time, of course, we have to see how Turkey came to this situation, and from here to where Turkey is leading, living, experiencing. And before I came here, I was also reading the commentaries and also for myself commenting on the visit of Turkish Prime Minister to Berlin. And before, 1 week before he was in Brussels, I was writing like this. I said he was going there not to lecture, but to listen. I came all the down from Ankara to here to lecture, not to listen. So I'm lecturing or trying to tell you how this Turkish foreign and domestic policy is going to shape also the mind of the new generation of the Turks, the mind of the new generation of the Middle East people, and the new generation of the Europeans at all. So when Turkish Prime Minister was speaking in Brussels and in Berlin, I think he was very self-confident. He was addressing with the same rhetoric as in Turkey is addressing, the same way of thinking. So this is, in this respect, Turkish Prime Minister is a very sincere person, a political animal, in other words, as the British used to say. He is the man who says what he thinks. Wherever the Turkish president is not saying what he thinks, is playing rather the man of the statesman. So it's difficult to understand what he thinks in certain issues. He says, oh, everything will be fine, good days will be in future, you know. So two different attitudes. And we have a foreign minister, and this is those three actors, I would say. who is living in nostalgia, in a pragmatic world, with his zero problem with the neighboring countries. But these three persons, Turkish foreign minister, prime minister, and president, they are like Olympic swimming team of synchronized team. They have the same way of thinking, the same line. It doesn't matter which statement you take, they all having the same mindset, and this is important. This is why we have first time in our history that in direction of Turkish foreign and security policy, there are no turbulences in way of thinking, but there's always a concrete line, and this is why I would call the Turkish foreign and security policy in recent years in particular also a line of many miscalculations and many wrongdoings. At the same time, I must say, the Turkish foreign policy is one of the, at the moment at least, examples how the classical way of realist thinking, in the sense of Kissinger, Brzezinski, etc., is replaced by the value-oriented way of thinking, in the sense of Ibrahim Kalın's statement, precious loneliness. So they are even ready to be lonely in the international politics because they have certain values which are not in the same line with the classical European as well as Western in general framework. Will it be successful is another issue, but you have to understand this team, this government has this value, and this is in contradiction, I would say, in several points, what we had before. My presentation or my view is that the Turkish foreign policy is going to be in the same line with the West in general framework. Turkey is not moving from the West to another direction. It's a joke, of course, when Turkish Prime Minister says to Putin, so you should take us to Shanghai 5. I mean, it's nonsense. I mean, but, you know, for the introduction into international politics, you tell it to the students, you know, that there are different schools of school of thought, but in reality, in the practical terms, it does not function. Or like some other advisors of him who talk about that Turkey is a great power or has aspirations to become a great power. I'm calling here Yiğit Bulut. He is not taken very seriously in academic terms, but in political sense, he is trying to shape the mind of the people. And when I do see here this type of statements, once again, I see on the one hand very pragmatic understanding of Turkish foreign policy from Turkish Prime Minister. On the other hand, he allows that many people can speak in such a way that the Turkish minds are confused. We, the Turks, ladies and gentlemen, we are not all academics in Turkey. The majority is non-academic, and they understand a different language. Very easy, very simple. And we love, we the Turks, we love to be, let's say, beloved by the others, or like every nation, but we love the words if even somebody speaks a couple of words, and if you say, Turkish food is wonderful, Turkish man anyway, so, and or woman doesn't matter. So we love this. We are different in this sense from the other Middle East countries. We are not classical Middle East country in this sense. We have in between East and West, moving also intellectually, and I think it is the biggest enrichment. Tayyip Erdoğan is, on the one hand, having this mindset of the Middle East political leader, but at the same time, very pragmatic when he talks in Brussels and when he talks to Angela Merkel. He says, please help us, that new chapters will be opened. May I continue with this concept of Turkey, that Turkey is now trying to criticize many points which we also criticize in academic terms, like the structure of United Nations. It does not fit to the realities of today. So we teach since 1945 there is a new world order, and this new world order has this players, but it does not reflect. Okay? So what Turkish Prime Minister is saying is, he is very much convinced in his attitude, way of thinking, but he also does not know that he cannot change the system. Since 1492, we have 7 different world systems. We teach this at the universities. And the Turks actually have never done big revolutions. The Turks made always reforms. We are reform-minded, security-minded people. We love to make reforms. Since the 19th century, in the last 250 years, our history is full of reforms, Turkish reforms. Even the European Union is today considered as a reform process, modernization process and reform process. Now, the Turkish-American relations, very shortly. America remains for Turkey the most important ally. In the last 12 years, Turkish Prime Minister has been 18 times in Washington. Never ever such a frequency we had. The American presidents come over to Turkey, be it George W. Bush, son W. Bush, or Barack Obama was also there. So the first American president who visited Turkey was Eisenhower in late 50s. So we in Turkey, at the moment, we are trying to understand. We talk too much about America, but we don't have enough literature. So this is very interesting. So there is a great deficit of Turkish-American relations for young people in particular. Please see this vacuum and work on it. America, European Union, and Russia, there are permanent power centers, as Kissinger used to say. And we have the new emerging power centers, like India, like China, like Brazil. And I will come also to India and the other countries in the context of secularism. And what is more important, Turkey is not a power center. I have a different view. Turkey is a global player, but not a power center. It's like Ronaldo from Real Madrid. He's from Portugal, plays for Manchester United or for Real Madrid. Doesn't matter who pays better. Who pays better, he plays for them. This is why Tayyip Erdogan is trying to convince also Putin, take me into Shanghai, so I'm a good player, I will help you. He's not sincere in this respect, but he just tried to create this competition, if you want, in the political sphere. But Russia, ladies and gentlemen, remains, after America, the second important country. For Turkish energy needs, Russia still is number one. For economic relations, Russia will stay furthermore important. The Turks do not need any visa to go to Russia. It is a revolutionary event. I take my passport, take the plane in Ankara. In 3 hours, I'm in Moscow. And the gentleman on the custom tells me, tourist? I say, da? Okay, then I'm on the other side. And the poor Germans, British, whatsoever, or others, if they want to go to Russia, they need visa. We are visa-free country. And this is important. Why? Because Russia is also, after Germany, the second country which sends more than 5 million tourists every year to Turkey. We sell our sunshine to the Russians, not free of charge, of course. So it is very important that to understand the Russian-Turkish relations in the historical context. It is not anymore Cold War years. The concept of enemy of Russia does not exist. anymore, but it does not mean that it cannot change in future. At the moment, it is not the case. And Putin understands Turkey very well. The Russians, if there are Russians here among us, they know much better than I do. The Russians think in compartmental way of thinking. It means there are a lot of issues. If you don't understand the other side on this issue, then you go to next one. And we, the Turks, we think in total. Either you are with me or against me. So you want to get all the business solved in once. You cannot do this. So we have to also negotiate in a different way. But these three power centers, America, Russia, and the European Union, will define also the future of Turkey. So the question is not here whether Turkey is going to become full member of the European Union in the foreseeable future. Definitely, we are not going to become a member even when we are 100 years old in 2023. Forget it. But it does not mean that Turkey should exclude herself from the European developments, should neglect Europe. No, it is not the case. It will be not the case. No government in Turkey, including this government, can afford this, but also the Europeans cannot do this. So suddenly we have a new understanding that the European Union needs Turkey and Turkey needs the European Union. Never ever before, I must tell you, the Turks have been so strong, so self-confident at the international politics. The question is, how do we manage this self-confidence? It's not enough that you are self-confident. How do you sell it? How do you package it? How do you develop your relations now with this self-confidence with the other nations? We are not alone in this world. But the fact is, America, European Union, and Russia will remain for Turkey the most important power centers where they have to revise their Turkey policy as well as Turkish approach to those countries will change. Within 15 years' time, ladies and gentlemen, Turkey will be, after Russia, the second biggest European nation in population. We will be 90 million people. Germany will be 82 million people, even if they do not take many immigrants in the future. The German population will go down, and Turkey will be the number 2 power population-wise in Europe. So a young, dynamic society. This is the changing Turkey, which I mentioned before. If you try to understand Turkey with the same parameters, this is my dear colleague İhsan Dağ's statement, I quote him now, you cannot understand Turkey. So you have to change your parameters. You have to look from a different perspective. So we have one pessimistic perspective and one optimistic one. And I'm optimistic because I'm less educated in this sense, you know. The pessimists are always better educated. But it is my nature that I'm optimist. So looking from this perspective, within the next 10 to 20 years, Turkey will continue, despite all this domestic political crisis, domestic political debates, one of the leading economies and leading countries in this part of the world. So if you are not able to change certain things there, what you do, you cooperate. And Turkey, as I told this recently also, is the most important partner also for the United States of America in the Middle East, in the Caucasia, in the Mediterranean. If there are 5 countries where the Americans have to deal globally in order to be further number 1 world leader, Turkey is definitely one of them. This is no way out. It does not depend whether the name is Tayyip Erdogan or anyone else. Turkey is itself one of the weight here in this geography. Now, the other countries, India, China, the emerging countries, together with Turkey, they change also the attitude, the mindset of the world powers. The classical powers have to deal with these new guys somehow. They create new technologies, they create new, let's say, understanding of certain social values, in the sense of Niall Ferguson, when you read is a great degeneration of the civilization, you see how those countries coming with a new speed of, I would say, understanding that they will definitely force these classical power centers also to change their position and policies. Germany is the best example. I'm reading at the moment also the biography of Angela Merkel, and I understand how the Europeans and the Germans in general try to continue to be one of the centers of knowledge and technology, but we see the self-confidence of China, of India, and I visited those countries in the last couple of years several times, so I know what I'm talking about. But the fact is, we the Turks, how do we fit into this new emerging global and regional structure? This is very important. How Turkey is trying to create new type of relations, trying to convince certain countries to work together. So far, so good. Turkey is a player, fine, but what is going on in the Middle East? When I talked to Gönül, she was writing to me that I should also talk about the Middle East, the Kurds, etc. Actually, Isandır is much better than me on this. I refer always to him, but I borrow from you some things now here. Now, let me put it like this. Turkey made in 3 countries mistakes, miscalculations. This is Libya, this is Syria, and this is Egypt. At the moment, we do not have any relations with Syria, Egypt, and Israel, no ambassadors. We know that the negotiations are going on, that Turkey will definitely, in the long run, will get diplomatic relations again, but as the mainstream of thinking in Turkey is, Arab Spring is not good for Turkey. Arab Spring was not in our interest. Turkey was much better off with the dictators. Mubarak, Bashar Assad. Dictators are good guys. You know, you can deal with them. No. The Turkish opposition leader even called Turkish prime minister as dictator. And he said, I'm not. The authoritarian tendencies of Turkish prime minister was even called as dictator. When they were visiting Turkey, United States of America in May, there is a wonderful picture. The wife of Turkish prime minister was receiving a book about the psychology of a dictator. I don't know whether they read it after dinner for evening lectures, but there is a debate now, globally speaking, and this is exactly what I'm trying to mention. At the moment, we debate in the world, is it better to have dictators than elected Islamists? My view is that radical Islam reached its peak and now is getting down. Egypt was the best example. Maybe personal experience I can tell you here, because I experienced this. It was American National Day, 4th of July. It's my colonization day, because I married on 4th of July. So I lost my total independence in this sense, but anyway. And after this celebration in American Embassy in Ankara, we visited a friend, and I was called by Turkish television, TRT Haber, what I think about the position of Mursi. And I said, within 24 hours, if he is not taking General Sisi from his position, Then very next day, on Friday, I said, afternoon, you know, this Friday prayer is important in Islamic world. Then we pray for the death of Islamic democracy in Egypt. Half an hour I was speaking. It was my last speech in Turkish television, in TRT, since then. Because many people accuse me to be supporting this military coup d'etat. 5th of July, I arrived in Çorlu. The best city in the world is Edirne, my city. At the airport, Çorlu, I was called by Hüseyin Çelik. Now he's the speaker of the party. He called me and he said, Mr. Bağcı, Hüseyin, not Mr. Bağcı, he said, Hüseyin, AKP here is rooming, they are bowling. I said, what happened? How can you support the military coup d'etat in Egypt? I said, hey, just a minute. How do you come to this? I said, if Morsi is not taking the chief of staff, then the military would intervene. It does not mean that I accept. I'm telling you what is it. I'm an analytiker. I said, you are politicians. You can say tomorrow, I'm sorry, I was misunderstood. All politicians do this. If they want to not accept what say, oh, I'm sorry, I was misunderstood, misquoted. I said, I'm academic. I cannot say this. The difference between me and you can say tomorrow of this, but I cannot say this. What I said, that the baby is coming not healthy from the mother's body. So I cannot tell to the parents that their baby is really very healthy if I see that it is handicapped. He said, okay, Hüseyin, I know you that you wouldn't think like this. And I referred again Isando and some other friends. We have been, including myself, we have been contributing for the democratization in Turkey since so many years. It is not Tayyip Erdogan or any other who made this country democratic. We have been working for the democratization of this country before they became in politics. And I said this, I have written this. Why I'm telling this? This idea that Turkey is in the Middle East considered as the most secular democratic country, that Turkey has been taken as an example in the entire 90s and 2000 before the Arab Revolution, is because Turkey was a secular country. Now, the Indian and the Chinese, ladies and gentlemen, are also very much interested that Turkey remains a secular country. Islamists, I do not deny the fact that political Islam is a factor, no doubt about it, but you cannot come in a democratic system with the democratic methods and then abolish it. We had this experience in some European countries before World War II. So the world has taken a lot of examples. So the question is here, is Turkey going to be an Islamist state in the Middle East? The question asked. I say no. It will be not the case. It can be not the case. Genetically, I would say, or historically speaking, Turkey will remain multinational, multi-religious, and also democratic. So 3 countries in the Middle East, ladies and gentlemen, are the masters of survival, using here Bernard Lewis' statement. And when you read also his book, The Reflections of a Middle East Historian, recently published, 3 countries, Turkey, Iran, and Egypt, are the survivors in this respect, having so different cultures and religions combining within the same structure. My view that Turkey made a mistake in Libya is based on this. In the history, you will see the Turkish foreign policy will be written, we will write, some others will write. That Turkey was very much miscalculating, be on the first side, it was not American intervention, it was not German intervention, it was French intervention. It was Sarkozy's idea. And we have been doing wrong. I say this as an academic, somebody who is following the Turkish foreign policy. I'm telling here to you because I said it also in Turkey and I have written this. The second one is Syria. The Turkish foreign minister was speaking on 13th of January this year at the sixth diplomatic meeting. I consider now that Turkey is trying to make U-turn or repair policy in Syria, as we have seen between Angela Merkel and Tayyip Erdogan talk about this issue. Turkey is one of the principal contributors for the happenings in Syria. Last year, again, I give you this example because I have experienced this in Turkish, Habertürk. It was midday program. Professor Duygu Sezer, she is one of our doyens. She was in Istanbul and I was speaking in Ankara live. I don't have any political authority, by the way, I must say, but this academic stance probably. I was saying like this. I warn the government, don't intervene alone in Syria. And the speaker, Didem Arslan, she said, oh, Hocam, dear teacher, we've invited you so many times. First time we saw you so in a reaction that is not anymore academic, but I would say more political statement. I said, somebody has to remind the government that they should not intervene. From the very beginning, I was taking this position because still I consider it was wrong. The history was right. But the fact is that Turkey can now repair and make this U-turn. It is good. And this Geneva II meetings did not bring any results. We said this also before the talks. But the question is how Turkey is going to make now a new policy in Syria. In the long run, Turkey is, I would say, going to pay a big price. We have already 1 million Syrians in Turkey. My dear friend is also here making now this research, the Syrians, immigrants. We talk about the social acceptance of those people. 1 million people are already in Turkey. I visited several cities also. I go one step further. Now, this is maybe controversial. I would accept all those people tomorrow as the Turkish citizens if I would have the political power. In 20 years' time, then we would have in Turkey Arab-speaking lawyers, nurses, doctors, immigration, in this sense, very good. And we will not send all the people back. I mean, we have to live with this reality. And Turkey, I must say, has done a big thing. All those people in the first couple of days, they had the best, I would say, immigration camps ever in the world. I mean, Turkey has done a very good job, and Davutoğlu is right. The Turkish foreign minister was right when he was proudly showing that around 20,000 people, Turkey prepared everything. Perfect. But the miscalculation was that they thought that Bashar Assad would go within a couple of months. It's already 3 years, he's still there, and he's not intending to leave. And we have some problems here because the Kurdish issue, once again, gaining a new momentum. I'm a little bit careful about this issue because in my articles I said Turkey has to stop to use these military actions, but rather to develop this area economically. If Turkey is continuing to have the peace process in the next 5 to 10 years, like this, probably there would be a new generation of people who have not experienced any terrorist activities, nobody died, then this region will economically boom. Exactly the foreign capital, including American capital, is going to invest in this part of the world. Turkey is reconstructing this region, reconstructing. 2 minutes I have. Just about the Kurds, I want to say that the negotiation process with the Kurds created in Turkey a lot of debates. No doubt, the government was criticized by certain groups. However, the general understanding in the population is that still the negotiations should be done. And I was also supporting this idea. I think Turkey has to invest in this part of Turkey. The northern Iraq is very important for Turkey. We have already 500 companies there, $12 billion yearly investment. And what is more important, northern Iraq and Iraq in general, they provide Turkey cheaper oil and gas in order to diversify the Turkish energy. I know time is out. Just one sentence for Iran. Iran is, geopolitically speaking, more important than Turkey. We, the Turks, we made use of this non-democratic Iran since 1979. We have been the profit maker, that Iran was not democratic, that Iran was closed, that Iran is the symbol of radical Islamist movements. Rouhani is changing all these perceptions. If Iran is going to be open and also getting foreign investments in the 5 to 10 years' time, they will experience a big economic boom. Turkey will still lead, because we are in much better position. But Iran is coming. So, looking from this perspective, Iran and Turkey, as the Turkish Prime Minister's visit last week showed, they are two countries having cooperation and competition at the same time. Rouhani was changing the policy like Arab Spring. Arab Spring was not good for Turkey in economic and political terms, but it is good for the region that the countries experienced the democracy. I think is more than enough, at least for debate. Otherwise, I can speak another 3 hours, but is enough.
Thank you so much, and I would like to open the floor for questions. And we have some people in the overflow room. So let's take 2 questions.
Hi. Everything is clear then. Okay. May I know also your name?
Okay, my name is Mary Ruth Coleman, and I was at the State Department directing Turkish affairs, and so happy to hear your lecture. I wanted to know what you thought might have been an appropriate policy in Egypt for Turkey, since it's such a critical country, and there had been some warming relations. There are so many common interests, one would think. So maybe you could review a little what you thought were the steps they might have taken, and what's the future?
And one more question.
Yeah, Dylan Rebstock from the Atlantic Council. And I'm just wondering if you could elaborate more on where you see Turkey's relationship with NATO headed, with NATO?
NATO.
Headed in the foreseeable future, especially in light of the Chinese missile sales to Turkey.
I expected this. Thank you. Starting from the easiest one. Is another joke also. I mean, I'm dealing also with Turkish defense industry, and we had also very good PhD actually now, just a couple of months ago, given by Çağlar Kurç. we have seen all this defense industry development in Turkey, this set of mind from the Republic until today. This Chinese missile issue was criticized by the Western countries, NATO countries anyway. But the idea of Murat Bayar, the Undersecretary of Defense, he was trying to create this competition because his idea, I quote from the interview he has given, he said, we want to have also diversification in technology. We want to be part of these technological developments. The problem of the Americans is the Americans make offset selling, whereas the European countries, like EADS, like the other European countries, big projects, they provide Turkey, that Turkey is part of the project. And Ankara is the designated city for the defense industry. For the next 5 to 10 years, Turkey is investing a lot. Turkey is not anymore a buyer country. Turkey is a seller country. So it's also bringing this changing concept. You cannot always criticize the others that they are making this. Now, Turkey is selling this year. It is more than $5 billion, and in the next 5-10 years' time, Turkey will reach around $20-25 billion selling of certain materials from Nigeria to Egypt, from Pakistan to whatsoever. And this Chinese model, this Chinese issue, is not to be accepted because Turkey is a member of NATO since 1952. You cannot introduce this. It's like I don't have any plug. Yeah. I did bring my telephone from Turkey, and here I cannot charge it. Why? Because you Americans, you have another system. So what I had to do, call in 1 o'clock in the morning, the hotel, and said, I need plug because I need energy. She said, so we don't have. So you go and buy from somewhere. I said, why should I buy? You should provide this. Turkey is asking the same. I mean, we should have a similar line of, I would say, technology. And the Chinese, indeed, created this competition, no doubt about it. I was putting this question to right-tone representative in Berlin Security Conference in November, 26th of November. I asked, so are you going to change your policy? He looked at me, said no. So Turkey was saying that there is free competition. I find it good as a tactic. But in reality, the Turkish defense industry mostly American-oriented. But the Americans have to move, be ready to give more technology. So it's my academic message to Americans. I mean, if you produce this, okay, water is this and this. I want to produce this one. Why don't you let me do this one? Like F-16, F-35, or F-16, certain parts will be produced in Turkey. Our technology, we need also technology in future. NATO, Turkey will remain in NATO. Turkey is not intending to leave NATO. So the issue is closed, I would say. Egypt. The Turkish Prime Minister's greatest critic is that neither the Europeans nor the Americans say for Egypt is a military coup d'etat. And he's right. As an academic, we teach, including Samuel Huntington in his book, Democracy and Military, it is coup d'etat. I'm coming from a country where we had 4 times classical coup d'etat and 1 postmodern coup d'etat. Yeah? So we know what it means, but it does not help, because Sisi is elected once again, and he is going to become the president. He's already appointed as marshal, so the highest military rank. So he is going to be elected, and I can tell you, in the long run, we are going to deal with this military regime also. There's no way out. Egypt is the most important country in this part of the world, in particular in the Arab League. The Egyptians are the big brother of all the Arab countries, 22 countries. There is a saying, the books are written in Egypt, printed in Lebanon, and read in Iraq. So it is it's very interesting, I would say. Maybe one quotation from Bashar Assad. Bashar Assad was saying that you can kick me out from Arab League, but you cannot take my Arabism. This is very, very important. And then in Turkish discussion, actually, Gönül, we have difficulties to understand. I mean, this issue will be debated. How is it possible, for example, that the Turkish Prime Minister was speaking in October 2010 in Antep, talking about Bashar Assad as brother they had together as family holiday, and they were very close. How is it possible that from one day to another you became enemy? So it's very important. We had other examples. For example, Bulgaria, Todor Zhivkov. During Todor Zhivkov period, Turkey-Bulgarian relations have been very bad. And now the Turkish-Bulgarian relations are good, except these trucks. But what is more important is this concept of enemy turned to friend is very important. I understand the Turkish Prime Minister's psychology, but people have difficulties to understand. You cannot explain this. I mean, before Arab Spring, we had Damascus Spring from 2004. I mean, we have a wonderful book by a German author about Damascus, about Syria as Syria, the lost opportunities, the lost decade. From 2004 on, actually, the process of modernization of Syria started, and Turkey contributed. I must say again, Turkey contributed a lot for this modernization. But somehow, even I cannot explain, suddenly it changed overnight. And Bashar Assad was also saying he said, I'm doctor, and every doctor who is going to make an operation is going to have a hand of blood, full of blood. Of course, I mean, you deal with the body, but Syria is going probably to be divided. The Kurds are the main winner. I must say maybe one word, Ihsan, I hope you agree with me. Since Woodrow Wilson doctrine, the Kurds had never such an advantage in global sense to bring their issue, their main idea into the world politics. Now the question is how and what they are going to do with this situation is another problem. But the Kurds at the moment are the reality, the fact in the Middle East. You cannot ignore it anymore. Either as Arab or Persian or Turk, you have to deal with this. So this phenomena, I will say, will keep going on. But among the Kurds, there are also a lot of differences, as we see. Now, I do not expect a Kurdish state in the foreseeable future. I mean, first of all, I must say there is no Kurdish state per se. There will be, again, like Swiss cheese, so, a lot of holes will be there in Syria, in Iraq, in Turkey. And, but they will be one of the political factors, economic factors in the 21st century. And Barzani, who wanted to come to America, canceled. I know why you have canceled. It's not like this, that more Kurds wanted to come here and there were some visa problems. No, it is not. For Turkey, northern Iraq is important, but central government of Iraq is more important. Maliki is the most important one, not Barzani, not Talabani. So I see there is a trouble of the Turkish government that they very much concentrate on Barzani, which I find wrong.
Ambassador
Yes, David Mack from the Middle East Institute. I want to pick up on your last comment, Professor, about the greater importance to Turkey of its relationships with Baghdad than with Erbil. How do you go about improving relations with the Maliki government or a successor government to Maliki, if that happens, while you continue, for obvious reasons, to develop your economic relations with northern Iraq?
Good.
Thank you. My name is Ilhan Kagri. I'm represent the Muslim Public Affairs Council. And I just got back from Mardin 2 days ago. So the area of Mardin is actually, it's considered a Kurdish area, but it's not. It's mixed with Kurds, Christian Assyrians, and Arabs. And they're very, very proud of their diverse heritage. The other thing that I found out, and this is what I want you to respond to, is that the Kurds of Turkey, the vast majority of them are extremely nationalistic. They have, there are radicals, of course, who talk about a free, independent Kurdistan. But from what I've seen, and one of their biggest complaints is, why is it that everybody else, if he's from the Black Sea region, he's not considered, oh, you're from the Black Sea region and you're not Turkish, or you don't have Turkish nationalism. This was a complaint that I saw over and over again in Idil, in Mardin, in Misyat, in Nusaybin, in all of the little towns that I visited over there. This was a very, very big complaint of theirs. So my question is, do you find that people within the government are aware of this, or do you think that there should be more done to accept this kind of nationalism that the Turkish Kurds have? And also, they don't want to separate. I mean, they don't want to become part of the Arab Kurd. They're not Arab Kurds, they're Turkish Kurds. So they don't want to become part of Iraq and Syria, at least.
We are like the European Union. We offer better than the other
well, exactly.
countries.
If you offered it to them, they said, why would we want to become part of Syria or Iraq, right? So I'd like to hear your response on that.
Very good. Now, answer? Okay. Mardin is indeed a very nice city. I mean, it's very interesting and also multi-religious, multicultural, multinational. It is Anatolian history. I mean, no one can claim that the entire country belongs only to one cultural, I would say, tradition. No, it is not. The Turkish Kurds are the winner of the 90s and early 2000s. The human rights debate worldwide started in the late 80s when Americans made it as policy under Jimmy Carter since 87. And we, the Turks, we lost a lot of money, a lot of people to fight this cross-border terrorism. 3 countries in the world mostly suffered. This is India, this is Turkey, and this is Israel. We have taken our lessons, and this mind of the state and of the people is changing. I was not saying that Kurdish language will be like Turkish language in the constitution. I was not believing in it, and it is not the case. We don't have any constitutional change. Kurdish language will be spoken, but it is not the language of Turkish Republic. The Kurds in Turkey are in several parts of the country. There is not only concentrated in one region. It is not. Syria and there is now a candidate in Istanbul. He is relying on the Kurdish votes, and the Kurds mostly traditionally have been supporting the social democratic leftist parties. But in the government, when you look at Tayyip Erdogan and people around him, the most crucial people are Kurdish origin. So MHP is very right in this sense. If it is a Turkish state, why the Kurds are running the country? I don't expect that Turkey is going to be divided, or the countries, the Kurds will separate themselves from Turkey. Selahattin Demirtas, Leyla Zana, and all the others, they have no value in northern Iraq or in Syria. They are our citizens. We have to live together. It is our country. I was talking to Osman Baydemir, the former mayor of Diyarbakir. I said, I'm interested in more young people who become artists, scientists, people, businessmen, not send them to the mountains. So if you are mayor of Diyarbakir, I'm the academic from Ankara, from Middle East Technical University. I have more concern than you. The problem is we have different concerns. Now, the fact is that we talk, that we negotiate. And thanks to the regional and global developments, the Kurds do realize that there is no other homeland except Turkey. And they are not, I underline this, not minority. Many people in Europe, in the European debates, they all start like this, oh, the Kurds as minority. No, they are not. The Kurds in Turkey are not minority. How can I tell to people in Urfa, in Diyarbakir, that they are minority? They are people from Turkey. And if we really claim that we are the successor of a big empire, Ottoman Empire, then we are the last one who is going to speak about this, because Professor Halil Hinalcik was writing that we have 42 different nationalities in Ottoman Empire. I mean, there is no other country which can tell us what it means to live in a national, multinational empire. We have this experience more than 400 years. Now, the fact is, however, I agree with you that the 21st century Turkey will be a Turkey where the Kurdish identity will be recognized. That people will say, I'm a Kurd. Fine. But we will all work for Turkey. It is our Turkish national team. It is our Turkish university. Do you think that at the universities I teach to people, oh, you are the Kurd, so you learn 30% what I'm teaching, and you are Turk, you learn 100%? It's nonsense. But we paid a very high price. And Professor Metin Heper, who is also in town now, he has published a book called State and its Kurds. It said that the Turks have neglected the Kurds because the Kurds and the Turks have not been considered as different nations. In my understanding, the Kurdish nationalism is the last nationalism of the 20th century on the Turkish soil. Iraq. Turkish Foreign Minister was visiting recently Iraq. I followed all his trip, also his interviews in Turkish TRT. He was talking about the commonalities between the Turks and the Arabs and how we are brothers, etc. Perfect. And it's good so. The Turks have to develop a new Arab policy, a new Iran policy, a new Kurdish policy. We have to do this. We have to change our attitude towards the Arabs in general. We may not consider all the Arabs as the Islamists. It is wrong. I support that in Turkey we should have more students from Arab countries. We should have more literature. They should come and visit our country. So more dialogue. The European Union was successful with the Eastern European countries because they have been keeping the channels open. The former German President Richard von Weizsäcker, I remember in the 80s when he was talking to the Eastern European youth. It is good so. We may not neglect this new generation. I put on dialogue and on the new generation, which mind can be changed. We, the Turks, for example, we have difficulties in the European Union. If you talk to elderly people of the European countries, ask whether they would support Turkish membership into the European Union, most of them would say no. But if you talk to younger generation, They have a different concept. Erasmus program is the best, I would say, inventions ever the European Union has created, that the people talk. I'm aware of the existing political problems, but I'm more for people-to-people dialogue, more openness. It will bring us much better opportunities. Maliki is actually having great sympathy for Turkey. He has been several times in Turkey. He likes to come to Turkey. But when Mr. Hashimi was deporting to Turkey, I was asked in CNN Turk, I was making comments. I said Turkey will not deliver Mr. Hashimi because it is against our tradition to extradite the people who came to us. We cannot do this unless they are criminals. And it is their problem. It is a political problem. And in our history, in our tradition, we give those people asylum. With Bekir Bozdağ, now he's the Minister of Justice. With Murat Erdoğan, we have in Antep, remember, in 2011. I can also give you the date, 8th of May, 2011. I said, Mr. Bozdağ, I was really never thinking that we would think in the same way. He said, oh, what happened, Mr. Bağcı? I said, concerning Hashimi, I exactly think like you. So it is a state tradition not to deliver. And Maliki has to recognize this fact. So then should keep the relations further. But for Turkey, Iraq is the most important one, I would say, within this framework. Also with Syria and with Iraq, with Iran. So in the long run, I would say Turkey's investment should be on Maliki, not neglecting, of course, Mr. Barzani. Yeah? Mr. Barzani, whom I know also since 90s, they had always a representative in Turkey. We had a lot of talks. And I was saying in 2004, Mahmut Türker was also there. Ihsan was also there, you would remember maybe. I said Turkey has to take Barzani and Talabani as a political actors in a time where in Turkey we had this psychology, no, with them we are not going to talk. Today, Mr. Barzani was invited by Turkish Prime Minister to the party convention, 2012, 30th of September. And I was there too, in Ankara Arena, in the evening. But it was a very interesting picture, because he was speaking about his party program. We had Mr. Mursi, Barzani, all those people who give the image that Turkey is a Middle East country. We had only one European politician. It was Gerhard Schröder, who was not there as political representative, but making business. But he was invited, because it's very interesting, you should know, Gerhard Schröder and Tayyip Erdoğan understood each other very well. And Joschka Fischer government, I must say, Joschka Fischer and Gerhard Schröder government, they supported a lot Turkish modernization process in 2004, 1999 and 2004. So there is a very good relation with this. So Kurds, we will see, there is a Mozart-style unfinished symphony.
Okay, we'll take one more question.
This gentleman also there.
Okay, so
The last one.
No, actually, we'll take two.
My name's Mike McVicker. I'm with a company called SAIC. You made a statement that Turkey is a global player, but not a power center.
Yes.
Okay.
Not yet.
And I'm wondering, given what little I've read about the so-called strategic depth of Davutoglu, concept of strategic depth, I'm wondering, vis-a-vis the missteps in Libya, Syria, and Egypt that you pointed out,
Yeah.
if Turkey may have been premature in thinking that it may have achieved power center status, and that is why they may have made those missteps. Thank you.
Hi, Professor Bağcı. Thank you very much. My name is Yusuf Babonli. I'm with Azerbaijani State Telegraph Agency. You've covered the foreign policy to the west. Let's look to the east. Azerbaijan is one of the largest investors in Turkey, and its SOCAR is considered the largest taxpayer right now.
$19 billion. Yeah.
I think it's more than that.
It's officially.
And and with the southern gas corridor that is destined to transport 16 BCM to Europe, 6 of which will end up in Turkey, it's going to create energy independence for Turkey. So how is this gas corridor? Is it going to give leverage to Turkey in its relationship with Europe? And also the second question is, what should the Turkish government do as far as the resolution of Nagorno-Karabakh conflict is concerned, that it has not done before? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, Davutoğlu. Exactly on May 19, 2001, Davutoğlu was visiting me, and he was giving me his book, Strategic Depth, signed. And I said to him, Ahmet, thank you very much. I wanted to write such a book, but you have written, so I can do now something else. The strategic depth is still not translated into English. Translated into Arabic, into Greek, but not into English, not into German. I don't know why. There would be enough people to translate it. But there are a lot of articles written about this strategic depth. Professor Davutoğlu is definitely a thinker, a strategic thinker. I have great respect for his academic life. Politics is another thing. I have some other views. But he was trying to understand Turkey from a strategic point of view, and he was writing issues indeed where he was later on putting them into praxis. Failed is another issue. Davutoğlu and Tayyip Erdoğan made their biggest mistake in Libya, starting. Turkish Prime Minister was saying, what hell NATO is looking for in Libya? And 1 week later, Turkey was providing the military bases. The second one, in our history, we had never such a person like Mr. Davutoğlu, who has been cited and quoted in international literature as advisor, and since May 2009 as foreign minister. Also listening to him on the 13th of January, it was very interesting. He was speaking 1 hour, 50 minutes. It was a good lecture, academic lecture. But politically speaking, I was not convinced. This strategic depth or zero problem with the neighboring countries is good on the paper, but not in the real life. Davutoğlu, in his publications, also there is a new, those who study Turkish foreign policy, they should know there is a book from Davutoğlu called From Theory to Praxis. This is the collection of his speeches, interviews, where you can get his mindset. He was, I would say, very much convinced that this idealism, that Turkey is a rule setter, that Turkey is able to create an order in the Middle East. He was really believing in it. We have a journalist who has been writing first his biography, and then the title Kavga in the Middle East. He was believing that Turkey should intervene in Syria, Turkey should intervene in all these developments. But the fact is, Turkey could not do this. How can you do this if you put 350 generals in prisons? You cannot do this. I mean, and this has to be debated. I mean, now the defense minister of Israel, 2012, I was in Israel. It was introduced like this. He said, it was said, before he joined the politics, he was one of the thinking generals of Israeli army. And automatically I said, all thinking generals in Turkey are in prison. So this is dangerous. Now, there is not another country, by the way, where the generals in prison publish so many books like in Turkish prisons, including Başbuğ. So, this is a failure. Turkey exaggerated its power, I would say, in the Middle East, and now we get the biggest lecture of realism in the Middle East, that Turkey is not the rule setter. The Turkish-Israeli relations are very interesting in this respect. I find it, anyway, not good for both countries to have this quarrel. It is, historically speaking, not fitting into the main framework. However, it is a political issue, I must say. Remember this Palmer report? When Palmer report was published, Davutoğlu was very angry because New York Times published it one day before. And then I was in Turkish television, Sky Turk. I was speaking so 40 minutes about all this. You know, in Turkey we love to talk a lot in television. And then when I left the studio on the way to my university, I was called. And Davutoğlu said, Hüseyin, you have to know this, this, this. I said, what? He has told me things. I said, I understand you, but you put reconciliation, you put this, okay, but to lift the embargo in Palestine, it is not our business. One of the issues I couldn't mention, unfortunately, because of time lag, the Turkish Prime Minister and Turkish Foreign Minister, they make foreign policy issues as a personal issue. This is a very dangerous behavior. In detail, you can read this in Yusuf Ziya Öniş's latest article, Turkey and the Mediterranean. Just read it, Yusuf Ziya Önış, one of the best articles. And it is a problem. If you see the personal problem, it is dangerous. In the end, probably the disappointment is bigger than your expectations. But we all learn. I mean, I'm an academic. I try to understand the government. I try to understand how they behave. So I'm just reflecting here what I see. However, Davutoğlu's, I would say, already 12 years role as advisor and foreign minister, he is already in the history as the most ever, I would say, influential advisor in Turkish foreign policy. More than Henry Kissinger, I would say. I was calling him Turkish Henry Kissinger. He said, no, I'm not. I have written this in one of my publications. I said, why you don't accept that we call you Henry Kissinger? He wanted to be Nizam ul-Mulk. It's another well-known historical personality of Selçuk Empire. But anyway, so when he was asked which cities he loved most, he says Istanbul, Jerusalem, and Mecca. So no European city, no New York, no London, no Paris, you know. But whatever it is, the fact is, however, that the foreign policy has been dictated by him. I must, however, say what he has done in foreign ministry to change the structure of the foreign ministry, I would fully agree. I would do the same. The Turkish foreign ministry was not time adequate. It had to be changed, and he has done very good things. So concerning the bureaucratic changes, perfect. Last, Azerbaijan. Every year now I'm in Azerbaijan. Thank you that your president is inviting me and providing a private plane for us to visit certain cities like Ganje, like many others, Gabala, etc. First of all, TANAP is functioning. TANAP is good. Azerbaijan remains for Turkey a very important energy provider, but not so important as Iran and Russia. Russia is number one, and Iran is number two, and Iraq probably will be number three. This energy diversification is important. I'm dealing now a lot with this issue, and for those who have interest in energy issues, I would suggest Daniel Yergin's book, Quest. In particular, this Caucasian game is very interesting. And we, the Turks, we love Azerbaijan, no doubt about it. Even I have written this. The Turkish foreign policy is not so free to decide over Nagorno-Karabakh, taken as prisoner by the Azerbaijani foreign policy. You can read this in Valdai Discussion Club webpage, where I published. The Turkish politicians have to recognize this fact, that Turkey cannot have a different policy in Nagorno-Karabakh as Azerbaijan has. And I understand this. Now, the more Armenia is going into the hands of Russia, the more Turkey is supporting. And these Turkish-Armenian relations also will suffer under this. But this OSCE or Minsk group, they were not able to solve Nagorno-Karabakh problem because it is not solvable without Russian consent. The Russians are the most important country for the conflict solution there, not Turkey. This is more than enough. I thank you very much for your kind interest.